Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to Sunday, the 27th of October's Daily Red, ladies and gents. It's game day, isn't it? At 4:30 today, we will be at the Emirates. We will be kicking off against Arsenal. You can debate it all you want, but the biggest game of the season, there is no two ways about it. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But before we get to that, we'll be doing the usual, ladies and gents. We'll be taking you through the highlights of today. And it's a weird one because there's a lot of current players speaking, but there's a few ex-Liverpool legends speaking. Not too much, funnily enough, though, about Arsenal, but quite a bit about the team and the surroundings and other elements as well. So plenty to get stuck into. First thing, though, kind of deviating a little bit, sashaying into off-the-field matters. So shout out to Ben Boxack on this, because this was his exclusive. It sort of broke late last night. We all know that Dave Fallows is set to depart Liverpool after 12 years at the club. That will come at the end of this calendar year. And they may have his replacement lined up already. Apparently, it was exclusive from Ben Boxack. So, Ben, if you're not right, I'll be grilling you next time we speak. But I'm probably butchering this name, but Marcus Pilawa, I think it's pronounced. So a former Bayern Munich, former Borussia Dortmund employee, relationship with Jurgen Klopp, funnily enough, as well. No, people will debate that, Jurgen Klopp and Michael Edwards, but that's probably a different thing. But what's his CV include? Because that's what you're really bothered about, isn't it? So if you look at the article that Ben's written, it says he was involved in recruiting at Dortmund. Listen to this, ladies and gents. Haaland, Sancho, Akanji, amongst others. And if you also look when he was at Bayern Munich, recent recruitment, when he's been there, if you think Harry Kane, that was a big move, wasn't it? Michael Elise, he's shining there. Conrad Lima, you even think we were after him once upon a time, weren't we, trying to get him on a free before he chose Bayern? So the CV is quite impressive. So it will be interesting to see how this guy does. And I know it's almost smoke and mirrors behind the scenes. You're never quite fully sure who's involved in decision, how much weight they carry, etc. But on the surface, it looks a solid appointment, doesn't it? So we'll take it as good news. No, wait to see further developments. Wait to see whether I'm grilling Ben if he's wrong on this, but it is his exclusive, so shout out to him on that. Moving towards the current players now, there's quite a few current players speaking. Trent's been speaking quite a bit, hasn't he? And I won't give too much away, but just in case you do want to see it, Sky Sports on their Premier League and their football YouTube channels, and also is on Twitter as well, they have released that full interview that they've done with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, it looks like it was quite a few days ago with Harriet Pryor, formerly of The Wrap as well. It's a really good interview. There's quite a bit that I think people will make of this, so I'm not going to give you it all. It's more just a bit of a teaser, a spoiler alert at the moment. I'd recommend having a watch of the full one. It's about 13 and a half minutes, so it's not going to take too much out of your day. A good one to sit down with a brew. The highlights will come when he's offered certain things, and I don't want to give you almost the full game away here, but which one would you pick? And the clue I will give you is there's some that maybe mention the captaincy of Liverpool, the Ballon d'Or, you may have seen this, and other things. And I've seen a mixed, let's find it under a mixed reaction to this, but I won't give too much away on that. I would recommend watching it fully for the context, the way it's put, because again, it's one of those where if it just gets clipped, you maybe don't get the full context. So definitely have a full watch of that. The one I do want to give you from that, though, is when he's asked who's Liverpool's next star going to be from the academy, from the young players. Who are you calling out on that trend? So what does he say? He says, I speak mostly to Connor Bradley, obviously being in the same position, but I've seen Stefan Bajcetic from how young, how good he is, and how much potential he has. Harvey as well, incredible. Ben Doak, again, really young. The future star, though, Harvey's injured, so I'm going to have to go with Connor. An interesting one, that, ladies and gents. When you look at that current group and you think Bajcetic, Doak, even to more established like Bradley, Harvey Elliott, as Trent mentions, who do you have as the star boy? I think they call it nowadays, don't they? But Trent calls it Connor Bradley. It's interesting, he says, because Harvey's injured, so maybe that plays a part. But listen, that is the vice captain calling out the rival for his position. There's no two ways about it. So could young Northern Irish Conor Bradley be a future star. I think we've got big hopes for him, no doubts about that. And a different type of island this time, I think I quite nicely sashayed there, to Caoimhin Kelleher. So done a few interviews, but this one's more positive. It's not talking about his future. It's talking about the game today and the high stakes. So a little bit of a snippet from the Express. If you do want to read it, what does he say? He says, it's early doors in the title race, but it's still a massive game. We did not get the best result there last season, and we will be looking to do there better this time. It'll be really tough, and we need to be prepared. I'll always back the team, and I know the quality we have. It's going to be a tough game. Obviously, it's never easy. But we do our best to be as well prepared as we can, and we will give it a good go. Not fighting talk from Kelleher, so to speak, but bullish, I would say. And that is a snippet. I have a full read of the article in the Express, but it is good to see him talking in that sense, because usually when we talk about Kelleher, it's usually talking about his future, things that it may bring, etc. So let's just say this is a positive in that regard. Arne Slot as well. Now, I was mistaken. I didn't lie to you yesterday, because I did say they released his full embargo comments on Saturday. They held a little back, didn't they, ladies and gents, little buggers? So what did Arne Slot say in the embargoes that they only released about 10:30 last night? This one probably not as dramatic, more about his reactions on the sideline. He said, if I use my common sense, I would say we are role models, but we are also human beings. We sometimes feel if too many decisions go against you, emotions take the most out of you. We try to be role models. I speak for myself. I try to keep calm, but in the Chelsea game, too many important decisions went against my team. And there is a little bit more to that, so I'll just give you that. And as you say in that Chelsea game, if you didn't laugh at the Nunes reaction followed by the Slot reaction, give up football, to be honest, because it was absolutely brilliant. That was the bit where you kind of thought, this is what the PGMOL has driven Arne Slot to already within 12 games. But I'm not sure I believe this next bit, but I'll give it you anyway. I've seen it once or twice in European competitions. Managers who are able to influence the referee, and then you feel you maybe need to do something against that. Brace yourselves. But here in England, I haven't experienced that at all. The referees were just not being influenced by my emotional act on Sunday, and that has also not happened in the previous games here. I can't take that as a defence of John Brooks, Simon Hooper, Eyal. You simply can't. And I kind of get his point where he's saying maybe they're not influenced by, theatrics on the side. They're clearly not influenced by their own eyes, to be honest, because you see some of the decisions that John Brooks, especially, and Simon Hooper have given against us this season are just, trying not to get Anfield Index into libel here, to be honest, but let's just say not the best will file it under there. So, yeah, maybe, because you've seen Arteta, you know those histrionics are coming. You know we will just not be in that technical area whatsoever today. So maybe, I'm not going to say it's mind games, that's too dramatic, but a subtle flex on the refs from Arne Slot there. We'll see how he reacts today later on. Speaking of current players as well, Cody Gakpo did a big interview for the official website, so I won't give it you all because there's quite a bit there. Some interesting things. One of the big themes of the article may or may not surprise you. Defending. Yes, Cody Gakpo is talking about defending an awful lot. So I'll just give you a bit of a snippet from there because it really is long. I said, I think defending starts up front when the opponent has a goal kick or whatever. We try to do that as good as we can up front to help the midfield. And the midfield is helping us, and then the attackers are helping the defence. I have to say the back four, including the goalie, are doing an amazing job this season as well, conceding only 3 goals until now in the league. They are doing amazing, and we are there to help them. It's a team effort. We cannot take all the credit from them. They do really well. The reason I picked that is defending is such a big part of what we're doing. I mean, it's great how miserly we are in the league. As Gakpo says there, and the team realises this. we've only shipped 3 goals. And the team's also realising that if you are miserly, if you keep those clean sheets and don't concede many, well, if you don't concede any, the minimum you're going to get's a point, isn't it? I like it. I don't want to give it all away. Don't get me wrong. Well worth the read over a Bruins toast, etc. this morning, ladies and gents. But you can see that Gakpo as well, I feel that very much a team player, one that wants to do well and saying all the right things. So yeah, definitely have a read of that. This, however, is only my second favourite article today. It's a brilliant article, it's a brilliant interview with Cody Gakpo, but it's my second favourite, and I genuinely mean that. Because the best is Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez on the BBC website with a monumental article. It feels like a dissertation, it really does. There's about 8,000 words, and I don't know if anyone's seen the overlap interview recently with Rafa Benitez. It's absolutely sensational because it gives you a feel of the intensity, the madness of Rafa Benitez's character as well. And this is exactly what comes through in Rafa Benitez's interview. It's absolutely brilliant, ladies and gents. It kind of sachets into Slot's got a lot. I really don't want to give you too many spoilers because I feel like I am going to ruin it a bit for you. But it starts with Slot and how he's doing well, but it's a good start and he's got a lot to learn. And I'm even looking at it now, just mystifyingly. It sachets into Istanbul then. You're thinking, okay, that's a bit of a tenuous link, but that's just the madness of Rafa, isn't it? And the way you work. It then sachets back into, I think they'll beat Arsenal. It then goes into Curtis Jones and talking about him a little bit and how well he can do. It then goes back into travelling under him at Liverpool and the Fulham game where Gerrard wasn't fit and winning without star players and comebacks and all sorts of things. Now, the BBC try and put little snippets of the table and where we are, but this article just, I think, is absolutely brilliant. It lays out the madness of Rafa Benitez and the genius of Rafa Benitez at the same time. Honestly, it is just full of facts, literally, as well, but in his mad, rambling style. And then it ends with having a new manager not being easy. So it literally is, if anyone saw it, like that overlap where they asked him a question, he would just go on a massive tangent and maybe you'd get a little bit of the answer from Rafa at the same time. But honestly, set yourself a time. Maybe it's closer to the game, I would say. Get yourself a brew, get yourself a Kit Kat, a wagon wheel. If you do get a wagon wheel, get the ones with the jam, because the ones without that are pretty wank, to be honest. But get one with the jam, sit down, read this, and just enjoy the journey. And speaking of Liverpool legends, before we talk Arsenal, John Barnes, and he's talking about Curtis Jones. So he says, Curtis Jones has a bright future at Liverpool under Arne Slot. And I think he could have a bright future in the England team too. It's only a matter of time before he wins his first senior cap. In pre-season, he was one of the players who's really enjoyed it. I was with him in America, and he's one of the players that really liked Slot's approach, because that is the type of football Curtis wants to play in midfield. I think Slot's brand of football really suits him. He's had a little injury and lost his place in the team, but he's coming back now. Every time he's been fit, he's been in the team. I know that Slot likes him and wants players like him. It's a real interesting one for me, this, because Curtis Jones's, you argue this both ways. Curtis Jones's minutes so far have been pretty limited. Let's not pretend that at all. And there's context to that. There's context in the sense of injuries, but there's been many games at the same time, let's just be clear, where Curtis Jones has been on the bench. And it has been a favoured midfield three this season. There's no two ways about it of Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai. That has been the favoured three. You can see many games where Curtis Jones is on the bench. Yes, he might come on, but that's another aspect, isn't it? And even if you think about it, that I found it fascinating, those Slot comments when he's man of the match against Chelsea. And Curtis Jones was man of the match against Chelsea. Mo Salah runs in close, but I think it's fair to say that. He's rewarded by being dropped against Leipzig. And Arne Slot's asked about it. And Arne Slot is was deadpan, direct, factual in his mind. We know how he addresses things, saying that McAllister was back, so it was an obvious decision. I do wonder what probably won't bother him. He shakes it off. He's a uber confident character, but you do wonder a little bit what Curtis Jones made of that. And it's interesting, John Barnes saying about Liverpool and England. It's quite clear that Lee Carsley did fancy him, but it's not really too important now, isn't it? Because we don't know how Tommy Tuchel rates or what he thinks of Curtis Jones. So that'll be one to see down the line. But is he going to start today? Is Curtis Jones going to start today? Because John Barnes makes a big statement there. Said every time he's fit, he's been in the team. Now, I love John Barnes. He's an absolute Liverpool legend. He is one of my heroes. But I disagree that there's facts, there's evidence, there's data there that proves that is not the case. That's going to get tested today. Me and Grizz were talking about this yesterday. Who is your midfield three? And I know Grizz was pretty adamant that he does think you'd have said it's almost a non-question. Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister. I think I'm going to be wrong here, but I just get a sneaking suspicion that Curtis Jones may start today. Szoboszlai's been asked a lot recently. It's a massive pitch at the Emirates as well. I could be well wrong on this, but I do just get the feeling that it's going to be Gravenberch, undroppable at the moment. I never thought I'd say that. McAllister for his intelligence, and Curtis Jones. And don't say that with confidence. And listen, if he doesn't start, he's coming on at some point. It's a brilliant fourth option to have from the bench, isn't it? Whether it's Szoboszlai or Jones. But John Barnes' statement is going to get tested big time, isn't it, in that regard? So we will see what happens in the lineup. And speaking of lineups, we saw Lego Ed crying in the Friday press conference, didn't we, about, we got all these injuries, very uncertain. We didn't believe it. We didn't steer into it for 1 minute. And of course we didn't, because what did the photos show us last night? Lo and behold, there's Saka at the hotel with the Arsenal team. Lo and behold, there's Timber strolling through with a hood up, relaxed, not a care in the world. Imagine our surprise at that, eh? Saka available, Timber available. Calafiore, I mean, I like him as a player, I really do, don't get me wrong, but he is a walking injury. If you look at his injury record, it's disastrous, and it's already starting to play out a bit that way. Saliba suspended, but Odegaard with already nursing that long injury. If you want an example of how much Arsenal fans have now bought the Kool-Aid that Mikel Arteta is selling, and just honestly, the stuff that was popping up on my timeline, even just give you an example here from some of the big Arsenal accounts. So I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but AFC Amadon, I think it's pronounced. Listen to this tweet. Liverpool coming to us tomorrow when we're without Odegaard and Saliba. It's like us going to Anfield with them missing Salah and Van Dijk. Pressure and expectation on them to get something while we're missing 2 or 3 of our most important players. I don't want to hear excuses if they don't. Utter lunacy. I don't know if the Arsenal fan accounts have heard of a couple of players. I don't know if you've heard of them at all. I think their names are Alisson Becker, Diogo Jota, our best in the world goalkeeper, our starting number 9. So we're going to the Emirates without 2 starters at the same time. Also, Arsenal, welcome to the world of injuries. Everyone else gets them. All the big clubs get them. God, we had about 76,000 last season. Even this season, we've got a few already. And yes, some are squad players, as we know, but Chiesa's not going. Bradley, Elliott. I mean, you could also argue some people would have had Harvey Elliott in the starting 11 at the beginning of the season. So, technically you could argue 3. I think it's 2 really for me. But you're missing 2, we're missing 2. You're at home. We were pretty abject to the Emirates last season. It honestly astonishes me, the narrative that Arteta feeds into these Arsenal fans. And they almost buy it in terms of, they're in a worse position somehow, despite easily having the best injury record of any title contenders in the last few seasons. But There you go. That's just Arsenal fans for you. Final thoughts on this, ladies and gents, because it is Super Sunday. It is a massive game. Everything revolves around this. This is going to be a super tough game. And Grizz said it yesterday, and he kind of got clipped in terms of, quite rightly, that do you take a point? I think I would as well, You can boo all you want at this, but if someone offered me a point, shake hands, I didn't have to play the game right now, I do think I'd take it. Now, my heart is saying naturally, sod that, roll the dice. There's no Saliba, there's no Odegaard. Is Saka 100%? All those types of things. I get it. But if cool heads are going to prevail and we get a draw today, no one treat that as a bad result at all. It's still a brilliant start. We are still missing a few key players ourselves. Yes, it's a squad game and the players that have come in have stepped up, but I'm going to be honest. I would take a point right now. Prediction from me as well, 1-1. That is what I'm going to go with. I don't think it'll be high scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them's even a set piece, to be honest, knowing the way both teams play. But yeah, 1-1, and I would take it. I don't think that is a bad result at all. And just in case you're wondering if that's a bad result, that would mean we're unbeaten in October. And think of the games we've played. We've been away to Palace, away to Arsenal, tough game against Chelsea. So yeah, taking a point all day long in a 1-1 draw. That is my prediction. Final things just to call out, ladies and gents, ahead of the coming week. So Monday will be a busy day. Obviously, there'll be all the Arsenal content. Before we even get to that today, the boys will be on Raw, won't they? So I know Dave and Trev, I don't know who they're joined by, but it'll be the usual panel discussing the Arsenal result. We'll have Media Matters on Monday, so that'll be coming through. Dave will be back doing his Daily Red as well, or it might even be me. We'll have to see on Monday, but we'll get you Daily Red. We'll get you Arsenal reaction galore. There will be many things coming out on Anfield Index, ladies and gents. But on Sunday, the 27th of October, ahead of a massive 4:30 kickoff, enjoy your day. That was your Daily Red by Anfield Index.